Welcome to Roadtrip WDW. I'm your host, Rebecca Schlau. This is episode 18, and I am continuing the discussion of our last Disney World trip. If you haven't already, go ahead and give us a like on the Facebook page. It's Roadtrip WDW. Also, if you could, we would love to have some sort of review or rating on iTunes to make our podcast easier for potential new listeners to find. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump in to our experiences on the next following days after our Magic Kingdom, our very long Magic Kingdom day. So for our trips, I try to plan it where it's on, off, on, off, on, off. And I mean that like go heavy to a park and do a park all day, then the next day, a lighter day, or at least a day where we wake up later, so we don't have to rush at the very opening at rope drop to a new park. I don't always follow this really good advice I have. It just seems like I get so excited and I just keep planning more and more stuff for us to do. So after our very late night at Magic Kingdom, that started off as an early day at Magic Kingdom, I planned something pretty special for me and my two girls. And before I get into exactly what it was I planned for me and my two girls, I want to remind everybody that I follow some pretty good tips that I get from my favorite podcasters. One of the best tips I ever got from listening to Shannon Alpert on WDW Prep to Go was to take advantage of your location. And that means wherever you are staying, wherever you are at, make sure you really explore that location and take advantage of things that are near you. If you can take advantage of events, restaurants, and happenings around your location that you're staying at, it really simplifies your life and will really help you out. And I use this bit of advice every time I plan a trip now. Now, in the past, it just seems like I would go all over Disney World, here to there, different restaurants, different resorts, resort hopping. And it was fun, and we did it, but it was very rushed, and I just really like the idea of now that I go to Disney World frequently, I really just need to hone in on what's most important and what's close to me. So, going forward with that bit of advice, I researched things to do at Grand Floridian, maybe some unique things. I'd heard something about a tea party, some rumblings about a tea party, and sure enough, I wanted to do the whole fancy, we're all dressed up nice, and we're going to a fancy tea party at the Grand Floridian. Doesn't that just sound ideal? It sounded perfect to me. So I looked at the tea party options, and there were several different tea party options. But there was one special event tea party that I was not familiar with. Now, they do offer different teas. You can go, kind of like a restaurant style. You go and get a plate of like tea cakes and different teas, and that's like a pretty fancy restaurant fee. But they have this special event tea party called the Perfectly Princess Tea Party. Now, it's only offered on certain days, so you'll have to check in advance if you might be interested in this. And it's a very exclusive little party. It's a little event. And you dress up like your favorite Disney princess, and you go to this beautiful tea room, large windows, decorated nicely, and they give everybody, like the kids get just an assortment of sandwiches, and they come in nice little shapes, little tea sandwiches, little goodies to munch on, like cheeses and grapes. And they give you lots of little munchy things. Now, keep in mind, it's 9 a.m. So you're going to be getting like tea sandwiches at 9 a.m., which isn't exactly my favorite. But we didn't eat breakfast. We woke up kind of late on purpose. But the kids wear their favorite princess dresses. So that's something you'll need to pack in advance if you're interested in that, unless you just want to buy something there. You also get several different souvenirs and keepsakes, which I think helps justify the cost, which I will explore in just a little bit. You get quite a bit of souvenirs, and so if you want to think about is this worth it, you got to really think about the value in it. You get a pretty nice 18-inch Princess Aurora doll. So it's about the same size as like an American Girl doll. I mean, it's more Disney-ish, but it's a really nice doll. You also get a princess tiara that the kids can wear, the little princesses can wear on their head. You will find a little silver princess bracelet that's hiding in their napkins when they sit down, which is really cute. They do get a princess necklace. All of them get a rose, like a fresh rose, so that's pretty nice and fancy. They also get a special princess sticker page. They just get some, I'm not going to say cruddy stuff, but they get like a certificate that says they're Princess Aurora's friend or best friend certificate or something. Or maybe this is actually the Princess Aurora doll's certificate to the kid. So they get some stuff that's signed, and you can get autographs, because one of the best things is Princess Aurora shows up. So it's kind of a character interaction event, and it's a great one because it's a very exclusive group. There's only, I can't really think of how many kids there were. Maybe 10 kids, 10, 11, 12, maybe 15 kids at most, and there was parents, but it's a pretty exclusive group. And so you get a lot of time with Princess Aurora, but they also have this other character called Rose Petal, and she's kind of your host, and she sings, and she tells a story about herself and how she came to be this character, and she used to be a rose in a garden. All this stuff. And then they sing songs, and they learn maybe a little dance. Like I think when we were there, they learned a sign language song, which was pretty cute. They did a little bit of dancing. They learned how to introduce themselves, a little bit of the royal manners. And it was an overall really cute experience. They have a piano playing Disney songs, and you can request songs at some point. They do offer tea to the adults, but the little ones' tea is just apple juice. So, and they get a little teapot, and they can pour their own little apple juice in a cup. The tea and the sandwiches are okay. If you're going for like awesome eats, I wouldn't choose this. And it seems like the adult tea sandwiches are a little bit different than the kids. The kids had a little bit more like peanut butter and jelly, and maybe like some that were more kid friendly, and the grown-ups had more adult food. But I thought it was fun. It was just too early. Because it was so early, I just was really polite and gently asked if I could have some coffee instead. And sure enough, they brought me a little thing of coffee, and that was great. They didn't charge me for it. I guess they could have, but no one charged me for it. And I got a little cup of coffee. Now, we did dress up, and as I mentioned, this is an important part of the tea party, is that you dress your kid up like a princess. Well, we are a bit non-traditional, and I'm going to be honest, we're a little bit attention-seeking in our family. We like to add a little bit of drama. It's no surprise to any of my friends who are listening to that. And we're funny. I think we have a good sense of humor. And I'm going to couple that with my daughter's personality. She is not a girly girl. She is not a princessy princess type of girl. My older daughter is more of a tomboy. Now, she likes getting dressed up every once in a while. Like I mentioned in the previous episode, she did do Bippity Boppity Boutique, but she didn't go straight the most girly princess you could imagine. She went for Jasmine and was a little bit more sporty. So she always wants to do something a little different. So I thought it would be really funny if there's all these little girls dressed in princesses and all sweet and cute. I thought it would be hilarious if she chose to be Maleficent, because Martha, my younger daughter, chose to be Aurora. And that was up to her. I let her choose that, but I just thought the dynamic of having one daughter as being, perfect Princess Aurora versus Maleficent, I really thought it would be hilarious. And so I researched costume options, and I ended up buying some stuff off Etsy and some stuff off Amazon. I guess I did put a little bit more effort than I thought. But I spent some money on their costumes to make sure they had something that they liked. And going back to my older daughter loved the idea. She loved the idea of dressing up like a villain. That is her favorite. She didn't really want to be a princess, and she didn't really want to be a queen, and so having a villain was the next best thing, and especially that it's Maleficent, and this whole Perfectly Princess tea party is centered around Princess Aurora coming in. So for some reason, we thought it was a great idea. And to be fair, it was a hit. It was a huge hit. It was undeniably the most impressive thing that these people had probably seen in a while, because sure enough, there are all these beautiful princesses, and my younger daughter sure was a beautiful princess and had her lipstick on and her makeup, and then here was dark Maleficent, and I put makeup on her. I made her eyebrows look good. I made her look the part. So I did spend a little bit of time before the event to get her ready, and she came in and she was like a champ, and everyone was kind of laughing and looking at her. And even one of the while we were sitting down and getting tea, one of the employees, one of the cast members, asked to take a picture with her because they thought it was really funny, and she was a good sport about it. You know, she smiled and enjoyed her tea. She didn't always do the frowny face and look unpleasant, but man, when we would take a picture, she would put on a show for us. I'm like, Vivi, maybe you shouldn't be smiling. Maybe you should act miserable because you're kind of an evil queen. And she loved it. Oh my gosh, she loved it, and so did everyone else there. And it was nice to give her a little bit of special attention while also letting my younger girl be a princess. And by goodness, she was a beautiful princess, and she ate it up. She loved being around other little princesses. What's cute about this is that after they have the tea on all these gifts and these souvenirs and a lot of individual attention from the characters, and when I say characters, I mean Princess Aurora and the host, Rose Petal, or I think that's her name. So after that sort of attention, they do this adorable princess parade through the lobby and then upstairs. So all these princesses get in a line, and they are escorted through the lobby by Princess Aurora. No one can come up and take pictures or anything with Princess Aurora because she has a mission, and they go all through the lobby, and all the people checking in, everyone in this, beautiful Grand Floridian lobby, they all just stop and they cheer and, just give all the princesses attention. And of course, mean old Maleficent drew quite a crowd herself, and so it was just really great. We took lots of pictures. There was a photographer upstairs in the gift shop, and she was able to capture some really great pictures of my girls individually and together. And then you can actually look up those pictures on your My Disney Experience app later. And they took a group picture with all the kids on the second floor, so it kind of overlooks the lobby. So it was a beautiful picture with Aurora, and overall, great experience. It was so cute, and if you have a girly girl and want to do something extra special for them, I highly recommend this experience. Now, this is where I'm going to lose some of y'all, and this is where you just really have to look at the value of what you're getting for the price you pay, because this was probably the most expensive splurge of this entire trip. And you notice I only said my daughters went with me. There was no way I was adding a third kid to this, or even my husband, because adding extras costs money. Now, if you have a kid 2 and under, they go free. They just don't get any souvenirs or anything. And it's mainly geared towards kids like 3 to 9. I think kids 10 and up are a little bit cheaper, but they don't get all the souvenirs. So let me tell you about the price. So if you just want to take, you and your special daughter who's below the age of 9, for the full shebang, you're going to pay $333.64. So that's for you and your kid. So that's for one adult, one child under 10. Now, if you want to add an additional kid like I did, I had to add an additional $234.08. So y'all do the math. I spent a lot. I spent over $600 for 3 of us for this experience, or close to $600. It was a lot to really soak in. I did not talk about this cost ahead of time with my husband. I just wanted to splurge, but Another thing that really swayed me is I get really emotional thinking about, the kids being young and they're only young once. And so my justification is my girls only like this princessy dress up character stuff. You only got them for a few years, You only have children enjoy this for a few years of their life until they're too old, or they don't enjoy it, or they've lost some of the magic. So my kids are smack dab in the magic. Disney World is still a magical place for them, and seeing princesses excites them, and being around them is such a magical experience for them that kind of justified the cost of it. Like, yeah, it's a hefty charge, but this is a one and done sort of experience, and they will always have the memory of it. And both kids are old enough where they will remember it. They are, at this point 6 and 8, so they're going to remember it, and they're going to remember how special it was. And also, they got a ton of souvenirs. They got really nice stuff as a souvenir. These dolls probably would have cost you, somewhere around $30-$40 at, Target or equivalent. I've heard people say that's a $7,500 doll. Well, come on now. Maybe not that much, but it is a nice doll. And both girls got dolls. Both girls got jewelry. So they were able to take back some things from this experience, other than just our pictures and memories. So it'll cost you for this exclusive access to Princess Aurora. But again, if you have a Princess Aurora lover and you want some one-on-one time with Princess Aurora more than just a meet and greet at a park, this is a great experience to choose. And just the individual attention the kids get. I thought it was fantastic, and I'm glad we did it. I really don't have any regrets, but it was expensive. I'm not going to do it again. I can say that I did a really fancy tea party at a really fancy resort, and I feel good, like mission accomplished. Scratch that off my bucket list. We did it, we conquered it, and on to the next thing. And since this was technically our off day, this is one of those days where I wasn't planning on going to one of the main theme parks. Our off days are usually spent either we just hanging around the pool, or sometimes we do end up going to a park. But not just any park, we end up going to the water parks. Y'all, I highly recommend going to the water parks, especially if you have these Park Hopper Plus tickets, or if you're considering doing a Park Hopper Plus, do it, get it. Go to the water parks. They are so fun at Disney World. And yeah, they're, if you have a local water park, maybe it's not a big deal to you, but we do have one local water park, but it's about 40 minutes away, and we never go. So for us, water parks are just kind of fun, cool experiences we only do on vacations. And my kids love the water parks. They love the water parks just as much or even better than the amusement parks at times, because you're not going to have the huge lines to the rides that they want to do. I mean, you'll have little rides, but they're not going to be longer than we don't wait too long at all. I mean, I think I waited with my son, the longest I waited, I had like a 10-minute wait for a slide. Now, they don't do fast passes, so you don't have to worry about waking up early, scheduling fast passes to lines. There's no way to game the system. I mean, you can get there right when the park opens at Rope Drop and have a fairly less crowded park. And then if you stay closer to the end of the evening, I think they close around 5, you have fairly low crowds. To me, though, the water parks really don't feel that crowded. There will be, like I said, there will be small lines, but to me, they're pretty manageable, and there's always things to do without lines. And I think this is what sells me on the water parks. You can always do kiddie slides. There's tons of little kiddie slides that your toddler doesn't have to wait on. I mean, just go. And then maybe stuff you can hold their hand while they go down it, but it's so cute. This time we went to Blizzard Beach, and Blizzard Beach has several areas for little kids. And I'm going to go ahead and say that I think Blizzard Beach is our favorite for the kids that we have for our age group. They do have a specific kiddie area where they only let kids that are a certain height go on the little rides there. I mean, you can be too big. My oldest daughter was too big to ride some of the little kiddie rides, but they are adorable. They have little toddler inner tube rides and just little kid body slides, and they're so gentle. They don't go fast. You're not going to be any danger putting a 1-year-old on the slide. Now, there are a few well, they're not even bigger slides. There's some that are a little bit steeper. They'll go fast and they'll kind of fall back if they're not too stable. Your toddlers will kind of fall back on if they're not too stable, but they don't. They're not going to get hurt. It's all kind of a softy area. You just take your turn, and there's just so many teeny tiny slides and just splashy areas in Blizzard Beach's kiddie area, and you can usually find some seating around it, which is nice because they can't go out of this area. If you're watching, the kiddie splash area, the kiddie pool, they can't go out of this area unless you're going to see it if you're watching them. Like they can go up to the top because it's kind of on a hill, the whole kiddie area. Now they can walk up, but they can't like go up there and then get lost. They can only come back down. And so that's kind of nice. We felt comfortable letting my 8-year-old and my 6-year-old hold my 2-year-old's hand and go down a few little kid slides with him. There's one where there's 3 slides that are together, like in a group, and they all just kind of go down this little short, steep area. So they all got on a slide and went down together at the same time, which is great for pictures. Lots of photo opportunities here. Every once in a while, you'll see a photo pass photographer in the water, which I think is great. So we usually park it, and we get our stroller. We park it, make sure the kids got their sunscreen on. There's also another kid area. Now, it's not specifically for the teeny tiny toddlers, but it is for kids. So I'm saying, like, if your kid then reaches about 4 to 5, they may want to graduate to some of the kind of the bigger kiddie slide area. So they have like a tube slide that it's kind of a fast tube. The height restriction, I don't even know if there is a height restriction. I mean, if you want to go down it, you can, but it is kind of intimidating. My 6-year-old still wears her floaties down it, but it's kind of a tube slide. It's really fast, and you can watch them. They also have like a zip line area over there for your slightly bigger kids. Now, when I say bigger kids, my 5-year-old, well, she's 6 now. She went on it last year, and she was not even in kindergarten. So, I mean, there's 4 and 5-year-olds still doing it. So it's still for little kids, just not toddlers. And they have one of those areas where the net's at the top and you have to cross like the lily pads. I mean, I don't think it is lily pads there because it's Blizzard Beach. I'm sure it's like a pieces of ice or something they have to cross. And there's a little swimming hole areas. I like this area. There's a lot for the kids to do in this section too. So to me, it almost seems like it has 2 kid sections, and then you have your typical water park rides. You have several body slides, you have racing toboggan slides, you have the very best family raft ride that I think is in all of Disney World. And to me, it's a long one too. So you go up, I think you have to have 4 people. I'm pretty sure you have to have 4 people. So if you don't have 4 people in your group, they will sit you with 4 people. So I think it's like you gotta have like 4 to 5 or 3 to 5, something like that. So every time we've gone down with just me and my girls, we end up getting sat with, a group. I think there was another time we sat with 3 other older kids, and it was fine. It's not a big deal. But it's kind of a long family raft ride, so much that I even got a little motion sick. But again, I'm really sensitive to motion sickness, but it's fun. And they used to have a PhotoPass photographer at the very end of the Blizzard Beach slide in front of some inner tubes that are in the shape of Mickey ears. But I didn't see it this time. But I really like that area. I also like they have those racing toboggan slides. They have that really, really steep slide. If you've ever looked at Blizzard Beach, you're going to know what I'm talking about. I mean, and this is the huge straight down, give yourself a wedgie ride. Y'all know the one I'm talking about. It's called Summit Plummet. And it is ridiculous. I'm saying it's ridiculous. I'm being very judgmental. I've actually never gone on it, but I've been on some of these really steep straight down slides before in the past, and all I can say is that they really, really hurt. I don't like them. But again, they have great stuff. They have a wave pool. You're always going to get a wave pool. They're going to have a big lazy river, which I like. I do like their lazy river. And we always enjoy ourselves. We always find pretty good food everywhere we go. A lot of times when I go to water parks, I'll end up going to several different places to get what I want. Like they have some nachos. They're going to have your typical burgers and things like that. But they're also going to have some better options, ones you may not think about. Like they have this roasted chicken rice bowl. And of course they have like a tuna sandwich, chef salad. They have a flatbread, which we got with chicken breast and bacon and a white sauce, Parmesan, bell pepper, tomatoes. So they have some interesting options. They have vegetarian options too, which was kind of impressive. They have a plant-based rice bowl with tofu and vegetables and rice. They have a Beyond Bratwurst sandwich. It's served with sauerkraut, so it's not real bratwurst, obviously. They have a vegan burger, a vegan pizza. So they have a lot of options for people. Now, if you've ever heard me talk about the water parks, you know my favorite thing to get there. It is the little mini donuts. And the mini donuts are so good. They are hot and fresh. They make them right there. They'll make them right in front of you. I mean, they are in the grease, frying them up as you speak. They are mini donuts, and you can get them served in a variety of ways. I think you can do powdered sugar, but we always do the cinnamon and sugar mix. Now, you can get them just with sugar, but we always just get them tossed with cinnamon and sugar, and they come in like a takeout Chinese box. They're going to ask you if you want 6 or if you want 12. Do 12, y'all. I don't care how many people are in your party. If it's just you, okay. Maybe if it's just you and you are a light eater and you're not that hungry, get 6. But in any other circumstance, like if you are hungry for these or you have another person, get 12. They will be gone. You will eat them all. They are so delicious. Now you can get some dipping sauces with them, like a chocolate dipping sauce, a white chocolate dipping sauce, maybe even a caramel one. I've never really liked the sauces. I really haven't. My kids have, but you have to pay a little bit extra, and to me, they just don't do anything. So I don't ever get the extra sauces anymore. But we have tried them, and if that's something you might like, I mean, go ahead. It'd be worth it. But we eat those. We eat every single bit of them, and in fact, my kids will then down the cinnamon sugar at the very bottom of the Chinese takeout box that it comes in. There's also a variety of drinks at the water parks too. They do offer some fancy frou-frou alcohol beverages. You can get beer. You can also bring in your own drinks and food. When I say bring in your own drinks, I don't mean alcohol drinks. They will let you bring in, water and sodas and things like that. We do often bring in snacks, but I do like to try the theme park food. So we just ate there and brought our own beverages. We'll stay for several hours. My husband and son, they ended up falling asleep there. And that was kind of fun because I just kind of hung out and watched my 2 girls in the little kiddie pool area, and that was nice. We always have a great time in the water parks. Do them. Now, if it starts raining and lightning, of course, they close that all down, which really isn't a big deal. You can either wait it out or you can leave. A lot of people do leave, which is kind of cool. We don't leave because we have a stroller cover. We're never going to be caught unprepared when we're in Disney World. We always have a stroller cover, so we're not too worried about getting wet. There's not a lot of seating that is under something to keep you dry. So if you do go to the water parks, you may find shady areas, but it's not going to keep you dry in a downpour. So we spend several hours there, and it usually wipes us out a little bit, and a lot of times we'll just go right back to the hotel and rest. Now, since we bring our own van on our trips, we don't ever rely on Disney transportation. Disney transportation to the water parks can be a bit confusing, and I don't even have all the details anymore about that, but I know at some point you had to transfer at Disney Springs, or you had to transfer somewhere else. I didn't really like that. So I did like having the ability to just drive straight there and straight back. I never think the parking lots seem that crowded. It's not a big deal. Even if you have a park far away, compared to the other parking lots in Disney World, it's really not that far away. So that was our Blizzard Beach experience. Now, even though I recommend taking, a rest, you don't have to just fully leave the parks alone on your rest days. What I really encourage you to do is not to push yourself to wake up so terribly early on those kind of rest days. So rest days to me are a little bit more flexible. However, because I have an annual pass at this point, I feel very compelled to, even though I may not go to a park, I still feel compelled to like grab fast passes, even for days I may not go. So to us, the next little bit, after the water parks, there was the option, I'll just put it that way, there was the option to go to Animal Kingdom. And we decided to do that because we wanted to experience Animal Kingdom a few times during our trip, and I definitely wanted to try it out at night. I love going to all the parks at night. Night's my favorite time. It's less hot, and I don't have to reapply sunscreen on my kids a million times. So for us, we love going at night. Plus, after we got back from Blizzard Beach, I don't know, it may have been 4 or 5, we had a few hours, it seems like, in between where we got ready to go to Animal Kingdom. Like, we had a few hours, so we got back to the hotel. The boys had taken a little nap at the water parks already, and the girls had maybe taken a short nap. And I think we gave them an option. Do y'all want to go to Animal Kingdom? And they said yes. So that's where we headed. And since it was the evening at this point, we didn't have any pressure. It was just kind of, let's just see what we can do. I think I did have some fast passes, but nothing was set in stone like, oh my God, we have to do this. And we were actually going to try out some things that we hadn't done before, or that some of my kids hadn't done before. The first thing we did was we went straight for the Tree of Life and did the Bugs Life show. My kids have never done this, and I haven't done it in years, probably since Animal Kingdom opened. Maybe back in 1990, I don't know. Back when it first opened. I have not done it in forever. And my husband, I don't think he had ever done it before. Now, I listen to other Disney podcasts, and I'm still familiar. Like, I kind of remember some parts of it. I know there are some scary elements to the show for little kids. But it's a fun show, and I really think it's kind of underrated if you've never done it. Now, if you've done it before, it loses a little bit of its appeal. But I think it's a really super fun show for kids, especially those with a good sense of humor and can handle some thrills. So if your kids are easily scared, if they're really intimidated by some scary things, this show, because of some of the elements in the show, it'll scare them, and it's kind of loud, and, it gets kind of hard to see things, and so they do kind of make it intimidating. But to us, that just made it even better and made the show worth it. I mean, because where else, are you going to get an actual, like, kids show that scares little kids bad enough where they have to leave? And unfortunately, there are some kids in the audience that always have to leave, and had my younger daughter been just a year younger, I bet I would have been escorting her out. But luckily, they were all good sports and allowed some of the scary elements to be thrilling. I don't want to ruin the scary elements. Just know that you have some sensory experiences. You may have some little, you'll feel things that you didn't expect to feel. Maybe on your feet, maybe on your back. I don't know. Maybe up above. I don't know. I don't want to ruin it for you. But anyway, they loved it. My kids wanted to do it again. And luckily, it's a walk-on. There was no line at all. We just walked right on it. At this point, my younger daughter, we had convinced. She's 6 years old. She's tall enough. We had convinced her to ride Expedition Everest. And this is going to be a first time for her, and probably the biggest roller coaster she has ever been on. And it's a thrill ride for thrill riders. It is not a family roller coaster by all means. So we got on, and right when we were about to go, we were strapped up, and she'd worked up the nerve. We were in, we were ready. We were just waiting on them to give us the thumbs up to go, and that thumbs up never came. The ride broke down as we were in it. We never launched off. We were escorted off the ride. Now, I'm pretty sure that it turned back into a anytime fast pass to come back, but it was just so disappointing because we were right there. My daughter had finally worked up the courage to go on it, but then again, I was very pleased because I cannot imagine being on this ride with her being kind of scared and it breaking down. So we barely avoided that. She ended up going later on in the trip with my husband, and she loved it. I'm trying to think what she calls this ride, because it's not, I think she gets really confused about the Yeti, and I think she calls it a bear. she wants to go on with the ride with the big bear, and sometimes she calls it the Banshee. She gets really confused with the different creatures in Animal Kingdom, but she ended up loving it, and she had a great time. She was also afraid to go on dinosaur. She had never been on the dinosaur ride. Again, she's finally tall enough to go. She would not go on it last year. It was just too scary. After a lot of talking into pep talks, she was so scared. We finally convinced my 6-year-old to go. And this is one she would not ride last time, even though she was big enough. And so we'd already had a miss at Expedition Everest, but I guess she was feeling brave. And she went on dinosaur, and that became one of her favorite rides. She loved it. It was so much fun. I mean, it was a little scary. It's a little intense, but I love dinosaur. I really think that's another underrated one. Some people just don't like it at all. I think it's a great dark ride. I mean, it's inside. It's thrilling. It's a little scary. It's got a neat little backstory. It's a great ride, and we had a fun time going there. For dinner, we ate at Satuli Canteen. I did the mobile ordering. I always recommend mobile ordering if you can. Unfortunately, though, with mobile ordering, you can't pay with gift cards or you can't get any of your discounts that you might get otherwise. But it's a pretty seamless process, and I like that they can get your food ready for you a lot quicker than if you waited in the line. So anyway, we ordered, I think it was like a kid's meal, like a kid's burger pod. They have these really good burger pods that kind of taste like cheeseburgers that look funny, and they come with a side dish. And I'm pretty sure we ordered grapes, and they didn't have grapes. So they went ahead and substituted that for a bag of apples, sliced apples, which in most circumstances, instead of a side of grapes, you get a side of apples, no big deal. But I was like, well, if we're going to do a side, I would rather have these little colorful chips instead of the apples. And I told them there when I was picking up my order, I was like, well, if they didn't have the grapes that we ordered, and again, we mobile ordered, so I had no way to know that they were out of grapes, and there's no way for them to communicate to me that they're out of grapes and substituting. But I didn't want to substitute with apples. Let's just put it that way. I did not want the apples. I wanted chips. And they could not do it. They were like, we cannot change it. Now, when I say they couldn't do it to that order. Instead, they got me a whole new order with a burger pod, and then it came with the chips. So, a whole new order. And I was like, okay, well, here's the old order with the burger pod and the apple. They're like, no, just keep it. So, essentially, I got a free kids meal, because one little bitty thing had to be changed. And I guess their system is it's just really complicated that it's just almost easier for them to just be like, no, keep it. So if they ever run out of something and you don't want it, don't just accept it. They'll give you what you want. And if they don't have it, they will substitute it. And if they'll give you the benefit of the doubt. That was above and beyond customer service. And I'm not suggesting that people try this trick just to get free kids meals, but I liked knowing that they cared enough about my happiness and experience that they weren't going to let a bag of apples not being available, ruin my dinner. And I thought that was kind of cool. So we ended up getting more burger pods, which is great because we were hungry and we ate them. And the food is really good. The food wasn't as good this time as I thought it was last time. This time I had a bowl, and you get to pick your grain. You can do potatoes, you can do rice, you can do your starchy thing on the bottom. And then you pick which kind of meat you want. So you can have grilled chicken, or you can have seasoned beef or tofu. And then you can pick your sauce on top if you want a sauce. So I'll always do a garlicky sort of sauce. This time it was fine. I remember it being a little bit more flavorful the last time I was there, but it was still really good, and I still enjoyed it. It's a great quick service. It is a great fast food option at Disney World. You got to go all the way into Pandora at Animal Kingdom to get Satuli Canteen, and that's all we did in Pandora that night. We didn't even go to any of the rides. We walked specifically over to eat at Satuli Canteen, and I'm glad we did, because to me it's worth it. It's really good food. It's really good park food compared to other places. I forgot to mention that because my son is not tall enough to pretty much ride anything. I don't know if y'all heard me, but he wasn't able to ride anything. He couldn't do Everest. He couldn't do Dinosaur. But there was one thing he could do that we made sure to take him on. My husband took him on the little safari towards the evening when I took the older girls on Dinosaur, and he apparently really liked that. Overall, the day ended. It said the park closed at 10, but in reality, all the rides started closing up earlier. And actually, I'm not real sure if that was this day or another day, but I swear I read that they had the park closed maybe it closed at 9, but actually everything closed an hour before. That park closes, they counted park closing as when the show was over. But they actually closed the rides down earlier, which I did not know. So y'all want to check ahead. Like if you're planning on shutting down Animal Kingdom, make sure you understand when the park closes versus when you stop being able to go on rides. Because I think that is very important to know and something I did not anticipate. Because I actually thought we were going to be able to go on a few more things. I didn't even get to use my Fast Pass or any of our Fast Passes really to Expedition Everest. So something to keep in mind. We do end up going back to Animal Kingdom on our actual big Animal Kingdom day. And I had some other Fast Passes booked and we did some more things, which I'll talk about later. But I just wanted to let y'all know that this was our off day. And we just went to Animal Kingdom without any real plans. And we had a great time. We didn't do a ton of rides. We did a few rides and ate real good. And it was great. And it was the evening and we strolled through. The crowds were there, but they were manageable and it felt less irritating because it was in the evening and the weather is much nicer there in the evening. So I check out these parks at night. So the next time we went to Animal Kingdom, I'll just go ahead and tell you a few highlights from that day. We did try to do more of a morning trip that time, and we just headed straight from different rides and areas that we hadn't done before. I did have a few other Fast Passes for rides we haven't done. One of the things we had to do was take my son to the Dino Dig area. So once you go into Animal Kingdom and you head, I don't know what direction it's technically, but if you head towards the right, so to me it's towards the east, then you'll end up in Dino Land, and they have this huge playground area that's only open. I don't think it opens right when the park opens. I think it opens at 9 or 10. It opens maybe a few hours after the park opens. This is big area of slide. There's a little bit of water splashy area. You can avoid it if you don't want your kid getting wet. But there is one little, it's like a little waterfall that comes down, like a teeny tiny trickle. And if you want your kid to get a little teeny tiny trickle wet, then it's there. They also have a big bridge you walk across, and there's a huge dinosaur bone dig pit. And so it's a great place to go for your little kids when you're parent swapping, when one big, and you take the big kids to one ride and one parent has to wait for the little kid. And that's exactly what we did. And we stayed there. Me and my son stayed there for an hour. And we had a great time. There's lots of slides. Now, one thing I didn't like about it was that there are some kind of, these are just slides you would find at Burger King or Chick-fil-A, in a playground, not huge slides, but they're big enough where you can only go one at a time. And my son he's not big enough where I could go, let's say, first, and then he would know to come right after me. He's not going to know that. He may walk away. I don't want him walking and falling. So I put him on the slide to go first. I wasn't supposed to go right after him, but I did go kind of right after him. You're supposed to wait till they get to the bottom, and there's cast members there making sure you kind of follow the rules, but I didn't give it too much time. So I went pretty soon after him, and luckily he was there. This area, I'm not saying your kid couldn't get lost in this area because it is kind of big and there's lots of places they could hide, but there is only one entrance and one exit, and there is a cast member that is having you come in together and having you leave together. So, there's a little bit of added security, so I wasn't too afraid that he'd get to the bottom of the slide and not know where to go. But, that was the one part I didn't really like about it. But that was only on some of those, taller, twisty slides. There's plenty of other little caves to explore and little slides that you didn't have to worry about that. There were some ropey sorts of areas to climb on, and my son had a great time. On the way, though, on the way to Dinoland, I stopped at like a little bitty coffee stand on the side. I'm walking towards Dinoland, so on the left, I believe it's called Isle of Java. And, I like to try all these snacks. I know I'm doing this show, and I'd kind of do reviews of food, and I saw something that caught my eye. It was called a Tiger Tail chocolate twist, and it was very reminiscent of the Cheshire Cat tail that I'd gotten just like the day before in the Magic Kingdom, or a few days before in the Magic Kingdom. And it's this kind of this long pastry. It's kind of a flakier pastry. It's supposed to be puff pastry, but it has some really rich, dense chocolate on the inside. So if you've ever had a Cheshire Cat tail, it's like there's more filling in the middle. Like there's a big, nice chocolate filling, and it's drizzled with some chocolate on the outside, like swizzled chocolate. It's supposed to have they have some orange colored chocolate on the outside. I think they're supposed to be taste like a hint of orange. I didn't really get that hint. I just got the mouthful of chocolate, and I thought it was really good. I only was able to take 1 or 2 bites before my whole family took it down, and that was it. It was done. It was eaten right away. I'd love to get another one. I thought it was really good. It was kind of a great little breakfast treat. Like if you didn't eat breakfast, if you one of those people that don't want to eat right when you wake up, this would be a good place to get your coffee and like a pastry. I mean, they had some other like things to eat there, maybe a bagel or something, but it was really yummy, and it had more, like I said, it had more filling than Cheshire Cat tail. There was a difference. I could tell a difference, and I liked it. In Dinoland, we also did the Triceratops spin. That is the kind of the essential Dumbo ride of Dinoland. It goes around and around. I like this more than Dumbo because you have an element of the people. You have a little bit more control of the cart. So Dumbo ride, you can control the cart the flying Dumbo to go up and down. So you control your height. For this one, you control like if it tilts back or tilts forward a little bit. Like you control the tilt. Some people control the tilt, and then another set of people control the height. And so I kind of like that. There's a little bit more to it, but it's the same. It's just like the Aladdin ride too, and the Dumbo ride. So it's pretty much the same, but for some reason, my kids are at the age between 2 and 8, and they love it, and they can do it over and over without getting sick. I find this area of the park a bit exhausting, especially on a hot day. Luckily, it was the morning time, so it hadn't quite heated up to the heat of the day, but it was already getting really hot. Something I did learn is that even like I was putting not my Cheshire Cat tail, I put my Tiger tail up in my stroller, and I had it wrapped up. And there was a lady next to me who was like, hey, make sure that is wrapped up real good because these birds will come get it. Sure enough, there are birds that will get in your stroller, dig through your stuff. They will go into your bags and get your food. They are brave, they are smart, and they know what they're doing. So if you don't want crows to get your food at Disney World, make sure it is wrapped up really good where birds wouldn't be able to pick at it enough to open it. They will open, like if you put a chip bag down that's already been opened and you've kind of eaten a few chips out of it, they'll open that bag. They'll open it. They know how. They'll rip open stuff too. Like they know what they're going for. Those crows, I mean, it was kind of impressive. I was impressed. I mean, they will take whole meals away from you. You got to be real careful with those animals. They're smart. This day we did Flight of Passage, which is one of our favorite rides. We love doing this ride. We parent swap it, so we get to take both our older kids on it. My 2-year-old is too young to do it. This was my 6-year-old's first time, and I just love going on it with first timers, and she really enjoyed it and had an amazing time. For lunch, we ended up going to the Yak and Yeti quick service location. This is the Yak and Yeti fast food location. It's right next door to the Yak and Yeti restaurant. Now, I'm just now learning that this is what it was called. At the very top sign, all it says is local food cafes. Like Anand Kapoor local food cafes. I didn't really even know that was the Yak and Yeti quick service. I didn't know that was the official name of it until I'm looking at it. But I really liked it. I mean, there was quite a line to get to it, but it had some really good food. And anytime I see something kind of Indian inspired, I like to get that. And so We got tons of different things there. I mean, I just kind of went to town. I think I got like a honey sesame chicken. I got vegetable tikka masala, so that kind of got that Indian flavor. I got rib tips that's served in like a St. Louis rib tips glazed in a Korean barbecue sauce with French fries. And then I'm sure I had maybe some chicken strips and stuff like that. So I thought there was some pretty unique, interesting offerings there. They also had like a teriyaki beef bowl that looked good, but of course I didn't get it. And there was also some seating outside, kind of in a little terrace area, a little covered patio, and that was nice. It took a minute to find some seating because it was smack dab in the middle of lunchtime, and so there wasn't too many places. I'm just looking over the menu right now at this place, and this is one of those places, Yakinetti counter service location, that actually does do some breakfast. It looks like they have a pretty decent breakfast and breakfast bowl. So if you happen to be at Animal Kingdom early, I would check out Yakinetti. I do want to eat at Yakinetti one day. I hear it's good. It's also one of those Landry Select Club places where I think if I flash my fancy Landry Select Club card, I get to beat everyone and get it to the front of the line. I didn't try it this time because there was a line just to get in the door. So even to flash my fancy card, I would have had to wait in line just to get inside the door. So I didn't even attempt it for lunch. But our lunch was awesome. Right after that, I took my girls on the Kali River Rapids, which this is one of those river rapid rides where you're in a circular inner tube with like, 6 other people. In Branson, there was one called the Lost River, which they just recently took out. Anyway, this is one of our kids' favorite sort of rides. You never know who's going to get splashed or wet the most, so that's always kind of fun. Do expect to get wet. If you want to stay dry, you'll definitely be the one that gets the most wet. My husband did not care for that. He did not want to parent swap at all. He was totally fine missing out on this experience. Always a little bit, irritated with this fast pass line, because even though we always have a fast pass, we always have to wait 20 to 30 minutes for it. This is with a fast pass, and maybe it's because we're booking in the middle of the day and everyone's hot and everyone's rushing to this ride, but I always think the fast pass line is huge and it takes a while, and so I may have to adjust my touring plan with this ride for our next go around. So right after our Kali River Rapids Fast Pass, it's getting close to like 1 or 2 in the afternoon, and it is time to leave. We need to rest and prepare because later on that night we have special event tickets to go to the very, very first Villains themed after hours event at Magic Kingdom. Now, if you know anything about after hours at Magic Kingdom, it is a few hours of Magic Kingdom time that you pay extra for. You have to pay extra. I mean, it's not cheap. You got to pay extra, and they only sell a limited number of tickets, and you have the whole park to yourselves, and you can just pretty much go on all the rides you want to lots of times and not have to worry about rides. Or not worry about lines. Now, the Villains themed after hours event was a new take on this. So they brought back the after hours events but put a villain theme on it. So they had special snacks, like villain themed snacks and merchandise. They advertised this new villain stage show with different villain characters that you'd be able to see, and they just promised lots of surprises. They also had kind of unlimited drinks like Coke products, water, unlimited snacks like Mickey ice cream bars and popcorn. So they offered lots of goodies with it. And this seemed like a perfect opportunity. I'd always wanted to do an after hours event, and knowing that this was the very first Villains themed after hours event, I thought it was perfect. I couldn't wait to give my review on it and couldn't wait to do an after hours event in general. I did cough up the change. I guess you'll kind of notice that is going to be a theme. I don't know, y'all. I have a problem with Disney. It's kind of like some people have problems like getting Starbucks coffee in the mornings every single morning, and some people have this addiction to shoes. I have an addiction to Disney, and this addiction makes me buy very expensive Disney themes. I'm not rich, but man, I just add that extra guac when it comes to Disney, don't I? So this Disney event, it starts from, I think, around 10, and it's supposed to go from 10 to 1. Okay, so if you already have a park ticket, you have a little bit of a discounted rate for your Villains After Hours experience. But if you only had a Villains After Hours ticket, I think you could get in around 7. So, I mean, I think we got to Magic Kingdom a little bit earlier, so around 6 or 7. And I think we may have done a few rides, maybe a few Fast Pass rides, and then we had some dinner at Columbia Harbor House. I think at Columbia Harbor House, this is where we ended up getting a chicken pot pie, which was pretty decent, and then one of these birthday cake pops things where it's kind of like a push up pop but cake inside. I didn't really like it. It didn't really live up to the hype. I think we got some other things, but I can't really remember. We walked around the Dumbo area while the fireworks were going off. And after we were done with this area, we pretty much walked onto Ariel and we met Little Mermaid Ariel. I think we may have even met her before. But anyway, it was right when it was changing from regular park hours to the Villains After Hour event. And immediately, right after the fireworks, the all over the Magic Kingdom, you hear this ominous villain music start throughout all of the park. It's setting the stage pretty good because I don't remember any music until that. I just remember maybe some recordings from the fireworks, but then all of a sudden you hear this like really, it's very villainy Disney music. I can't exactly remember from which soundtrack, but it was villain music. And then all of a sudden you could see projections everywhere. So like in one area there was like a poison apple projection. In one area there was those little beetle things from Aladdin, are they called scarabs? Like there were projections of those everywhere, and just really villain projections. You could get your picture with some of these projections. There was tons of like photo pass photographers in different spots where you could get your picture made. Now, you didn't really know what was going to be in the picture with you until a day or two later. When I say a day or two, I mean maybe a day or 4 later, because the pictures would come up and they didn't add their magical touches until a few days later. So there were several pictures that they just had us making a funny face, looking in a certain direction at nothing, and then a few days later they added in Scar, or they added in Maleficent. And so that was really cool. We took advantage of all the carts with the popcorn and the Mickey bars and the Diet Cokes. And keep in mind, we have our big double strollers. So, they're offering like those 16, 20 ounces of bottles of Diet Cokes. And I'm a Diet Coke drinker, y'all. And Sprites and all this stuff. So, every time we'd go to a stand, I'd get like 2 or 3 and just throw them in the bottom of my stroller. And I'd get 2 or 3 more. I'd throw them in the bottom of the stroller. You can get unlimited. They don't care how many you get. We had tons of ice cream, tons of popcorn. There were several different stands. I loved that every time you'd kind of go down the street, you'd have a line of cast members, like a line of workers there checking your wristband to make sure that you had the appropriate wristband to get into Disney Villains After Hour event. And that was great. The complaint of the evening, the major complaint, was that Splash Mountain was down. And this was the ride I think we were probably looking most forward to, because it's one my daughters and I want to ride over and over again. It's just one of our favorite rides. And you can only usually do it once per day because of the Fast Pass situation. So we were really looking forward to riding it multiple times. And my younger daughter had recently gotten over her fear of Splash Mountain, so it was just so important that we ride it. And of course it was down. Now the other kids rode, the bigger kids and my husband rode Thunder Mountain Railroad, which is a roller coaster. It's a thrill ride. It's not a huge roller coaster, but it's nice, and it lasts a long time compared to some of the newer roller coasters. Right by Thunder Mountain Railroad was another snack cart, and I loaded up again on things like popcorn and drinks. Now I'm going to take these drinks home. Like, the whole intention is I'm loading up my stroller. I'm loading up. Y'all, by the end of the night, I had like 20. I had like 20 stashed Diet Cokes and Sprites in the bottom of my stroller. It's kind of funny. But if you think about going to those parks, you may spend $5 on one of those, or $4 each time you buy one. So, you do the math. But we walked around. We did Pirates of the Caribbean, and during the Villains After Hours event, they have a special added touch. Now, unfortunately, Pirates did have a little bit of a wait. So far, we haven't had to wait in any too long lines, but we did have about a 10 or 15 minute wait for Pirates of the Caribbean, and they had some special actors. They had some actors like 3 different actors in the line, just in the line alone. So some were acting like they were in jail, some prisoners, but there was also this Jamaican woman, this Bahamian woman that kind of sounded like that kind of creepy lady on Pirates of the Caribbean who is kind of the fortune teller person, the clairvoyant. She talked just like her and kind of looked like her and was kind of mysterious and interacted with us, and that was really fun. And during the ride, there's a pirate dressed up, and I'm pretty sure he's dressed up like Captain Barbossa. Isn't that his name, Barbossa? Like the villain from the Pirates of the Caribbean like movies, the first one, or maybe first 1 and 2. I can't remember. You know what? I can't remember. First one. The very first villain. And he was interacting, and my daughter yelled up at him, "Are you real?" And he yells back, "As real as the wart on your face, lassie," or something like that, in a much more piratey accent. But it was funny. And so that was a neat touch. We'd also learned that they had a few other, neat touches around the park. One was there was supposed to be something special in Space Mountain. And I'm going to tell you what the Space Mountain surprise was. It's dark, just all dark. There is no visual. You see nothing. There is no little signs of light. There's nothing. You see nothing in line. You see nothing in line. You see nothing on the ride. It is pitch black, so you don't really know, which can be kind of dangerous. It's already a dark ride anyway, but you never realize how much light is coming through when you're riding Space Mountain until there is zero. Because at least when you're riding Space Mountain, normally you kind of know which way your head's about to kind of roll, and it's going to bump you around. It's going to hurt. But in the dark, there's no way to tell where it was. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure it was my daughter's first or second time to ride Space Mountain, so I had to keep my hand kind of over her shoulder. I was sitting behind her, and so I had to try to keep her calm, but also I had no idea where I was going in the dark. So it definitely made it more thrilling. It was fun. I only wanted to do it once, one and done. I liked that in the line because they don't really have all the cast members to do all the parent swapping that they normally do. They just let us and our big old stroller in the line, and they let us down the fast pass line when everyone else was in the regular line. I was kind of disappointed that there was a pretty big line for Space Mountain. I mean, had we waited in the longest section of the line, we would have probably waited 30 minutes. And, this is a 3-hour short event. And that is, in my opinion, too long to wait. However, we didn't have to wait too long, and we were able to get up there pretty quickly. We did watch the stage show, which was great. I mean, when I say great, I mean it was pretty cute. I didn't really understand the plot, but before the even stage show started, you get into right by the castle, and there is a dance party. And I mean, the music is pumping. They get you going. My kids were dancing, and then here comes Maleficent float. And the Maleficent float, I don't know if anyone is following along with Disney News. This is the float, this big contraption that's in a dragon. It's like a steampunk version of Maleficent. And she spits fire out her mouth, and she's huge. This is the one that actually caught on fire and was out of commission for forever, earlier, last year or later last year and earlier this year. But she's back roaming around at night. And the scariest part about Maleficent, she comes up, real slowly up towards the hub and does a circle. But there are these big, scary guys. I think they're dressed up as crows, because Maleficent's buddy is a crow. And they are on stilts, and they are terrifying. And they walk right by the float, and they will scare your kids, and they will scare you. They walk up right by you. They have no fear, and they kind of intimidate you, and it works. Right after that is the stage show. They have several of your favorite villains and maybe some that aren't your favorite. The whole evening is hosted by, I think his name is Hades from Hercules, and then you get a taste of a few of other of your favorite Disney villains. And they have little shows, and each villain brings its own little show. I don't really know how the ending worked out. I mean, as far as we know, the villains ruled, and but I don't exactly know what the consequence was. Like, I guess they won, everything aligned, and the villains were set to take over everything, and nothing. We don't know what happens after that. But anyway, it was pretty cool. I was happy to see it. There was fireworks. I love the projections on the castle. I thought that was so neat. Each time a new villain came out, they had a projection of like that villain's themed castle and what it would look like. So I thought it was pretty cute. Worth watching. If I could do it again, I would wait until the very last show, which shows right at 1, right when the park closes. I honestly didn't know if we were going to be able to hang that late. I didn't know if we were going to be able to do it. They offer that show 3 times. I should have waited till 1 because at 1 o'clock all the rides close down and then the show starts. So that would have maximized our time a little bit, because I did really think our time was stretched very thin, because you're hanging out by the hub watching the show and the Maleficent float for 45 minutes. If you do some of the big rides, you're waiting in 10 to 20 minute lines. We really didn't get to do that much. So I was a little bit disappointed that it wasn't longer. We did try a few of the edible thingies. I tried this noodle dish, like it was purple. I can't remember. I think it was based on the villain from Emperor's New Groove. I can't remember her name, the funny one, Yuma or something. Anyways, like noodles that were purple, and they had some veggies on it, and I did not expect to love this, but I loved it, and I got it at the very end of the night. It's kind of like a pasta salad. We also had that drink that it was really fizzy, so I think it's made with dry ice or something, and it was like strawberry soda, dry ice, and it was pretty good. My daughter liked it. There's other things you could have got. We just didn't have time at all. We ran out of time. We would have spent more money on food and merchandise and rode more rides, but we ran out of time. That's as simple as that. We did gather up lots of popcorn, lots of Diet Cokes, lots of Mickey bars. We took advantage of that ice cream. You better believe it. So overall, I had a great time at this event. I had a few disappointments with the time and, Splash Mountain being down, but overall, I loved it. I would do it again for sure. I may, since I've already done it once, I may skip the stage show or not, or at least I would just set to watch the stage show at 1 o'clock after all the rides have closed, and I would have taken advantage of going on the park rides until then. I would have probably definitely saving Seven Dwarfs Mine Train towards the middle to end of your trip, and some of the longer wait rides towards the end, because at the very beginning of this event, keep in mind, like right at 10 o'clock when the park is closed, all the people that have already paid that aren't even at the after hours event, they will still be there. They will still be in the lines. And so, I mean, to me, it takes like 30, 45 minutes to get the regular people out of the park. So even though it closes to them, they're still in line. So, yeah, I think we could tweak it a little bit, but the overall theme and how they, the music and the setting and the special photography and the lighting and the show, I really enjoyed it. It was a valuable experience. I would love to do it again. And a little side note, I'm not advocating for just always complaining to Disney to try to get free stuff, but I will say that Disney has a pretty successful record of making it right, and I think they really do try to make it right. So if you do have a complaint about something that didn't meet your expectations, like for instance, I just let them know that I was disappointed in Splash Mountain, and I was disappointed that I had lines. Like, I really didn't expect to have the amount of lines. I was disappointed that we didn't have the time. So I just gave them the complaints, and I also gave them what I liked about it. I thought I'm tooting my own horn, but I think my feedback is valuable as a regular park goer, and I'd love to keep doing this event, so I wanted them to have my feedback. I didn't expect anything from them, but I did want to give them my comments. Now, I do secretly, deep down, kind of wish I'll get something. What I was hoping for was that maybe they would take pity on me and maybe give us a few fast passes for Splash Mountain for the next time we went. So I did have a little underlying motive, like a hope. Like, I had a little finger crossed that maybe we would be compensated for some of that time, because really, that would have made it right. If they would have given us a fast pass to Splash Mountain, that would have that would have made me feel a lot better. And so I did give him my pros, gave him my cons, gave him my insights, and told him I loved it and would hope to be back, and hopefully they'll kind of clear up some of the issues that we had. And then they came back and were like, hey, here's passes for your whole family, 1-day park hopper pass for your whole family. And I'm like, no. Like, I don't want to be on record like that person that's just asking for stuff. So I was like, don't worry, we have annual passes. I love that offer. I'd love to take you up on it, but we already have season passes. We have 2 more trips planned. I wasn't trying to complain to try to get more than what it's worth, but I did ask at that point. I was like, maybe instead of park hopper passes, could our family just get some fast passes for Splash Mountain the next time we go, and then call it even. And I'm over the moon that they would have offered so much. Like, that was crazy to me. Like, I did not deserve. We liked it a lot more than that. And sure enough, they came back and were like, well, here is 3 fast passes for each member of your family, and they are anytime, any park, any ride fast pass. The exclusions that look like are on it, like I don't have the Pandora rides at Animal Kingdom, and I don't have any of the new upcoming Galaxy's Edge rides. However, all the other rides were available. Epcot, all the rides in Epcot, even Frozen, even Magic Kingdom, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Those are all options for fast passes, and we have 3 of them anytime that we can use now. Again, I do not advocate for just trying to get stuff, but every once in a while, Disney does throw you a little bit of pixie dust. Especially, I think it's kind of your approach. If you just go in expecting stuff, I can't imagine they'll offer anything. But I think if you're a rational person and you tell them what the problem was, I think they will respectfully listen. Hopefully they'll take your feedback and use it. But then every once in a while, they'll give you a little pixie dust and maybe give you something to compensate for your disappointment. They definitely made up for it for me. I mean, 3 fast passes for 5 of us. That's 15 fast passes, y'all. Ooh, my goodness. I don't even know what to do with that. So, that kind of sums up our evening at After Hours. Now, the next few days at the resort, we did check out the pool more. We checked out the Grand Floridian Gasparilla Grill, which we all liked. Typical grill food. They have a nice bakery there that we checked out. Again, we just loved hanging out by the pool at Grand Floridian. We loved the splash pad area was separated from the bigger pools, and there were gates so your baby couldn't escape, so you could sit down and just watch your baby play without having to be there in their face 24/7. We also traveled to Typhoon Lagoon. Much like the review of Blizzard Beach, I love Typhoon Lagoon. I love that they have a little kid section with little kiddie rides. It's adorable. I think it's a great park for, it's the best park for the wave pool, because they have that huge wave. They have tons of rides, tons of restaurants, like little quick service options. There was once we got there at the very end of the day, this ice cream spot, like quick service, and they were closing up. They were ready to go, and we got there right at the last minute, and they just gave us, they were like, well, what were you going to order? And I was like, well, I was going to order that pail. And the pail is like a huge thing of ice cream loaded with whipped cream and, some lots of toppings. Like, I mean, it was pretty big. Well, they like doubled whatever size that was, and we had a mountain. I mean, we're talking 2 feet tall of whipped cream, toppings, every topping you can imagine that we wanted. Chocolate syrup and caramel, and I think they have an animal cracker. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, it was crazy. It was insane. And sprinkles. It was so sweet, though. We really appreciated that. I think we also ordered an alcohol beverage there. We tried the quick service. I'm pretty sure we got some mini donuts. They do have a family raft ride at Typhoon Lagoon, but to me, it just doesn't go as fast. There's a lot to check out at Typhoon Lagoon. I think if we are older, I think Typhoon Lagoon may be our favorite. I'm not sure. To me, they're both great water parks. I have a great time at both of them. It's really hard to decide. Blizzard Beach is going to win for us at this point, just because they have more toddler, smaller kid options at this point. But man, it is close. It is close. And I think that was our last day. We'd planned to end up at the Magic Kingdom. And I think we were just so tired from the week that I ran over, took my kids to the two older girls to do Seven Dwarfs Mine Train like one final time. Maybe we got a snack. And then we ended our last night at Disney World at the Grand Floridian, right where we started. I did not have dining reservations, but I did want to do something nice. Like, it was our last night. We went ahead and kind of skipped over Magic Kingdom. I thought we might do Magic Kingdom our last night because I like to do that. Our last night, I like to close in a park. However, we were just tired, and we'd already done everything that we'd wanted to do at Magic Kingdom. So my husband was totally fine letting him and my son sleep, and then we needed dinner reservations. Okay, getting back to the point. Sorry, I'm getting off track. And I'd wanted to eat at a place at Grand Floridian. I'd really wanted to eat. They have like the Grand Floridian Cafe, but there was a place on the water I even wanted to eat at more called Narcoossee's, and it's a little bit nicer than the regular like Grand Floridian Cafe restaurant, but it's not as fancy as Citrico's or Victoria and Albert upstairs in Grand Floridian. And this restaurant overlooks the lake, and it has beautiful like windows. It looks like a very Florida restaurant. I don't know how to describe it. And I really wanted to eat there, but there were no reservations available when we called, so I was sad. But when my kids and we decided to come back from the Magic Kingdom on the boat. And if you are staying at the Grand Floridian or one of the other resorts around the Magic Kingdom, you don't have to take the monorail. You can actually wait for a little on board. It was just, the timing was magical this trip. So me and the two girls, we crossed the I don't know what's it called at this point, Seven Seas Lagoon, the lake. We crossed the lake to get over to our beautiful resort. And this is our last night, so I'm feeling a little sentimental. I'm looking around, and the sun's starting to go down. It's starting to be the evening. I mean, it's just a beautiful time. And right at the dock is Narcoossee's, that restaurant we don't have a reservation to. So my last hope was, well, maybe I'll walk up and see. I know we already called and they don't have any reservations, but maybe someone's canceled last minute. So I walked up, and sure enough, it was just kismet. They said, sure, we'll have something ready in about 10 minutes. And sure enough, in 10 minutes, they had us sitting at our table. So we sat at a table. My husband had a fancy flash and drink with like a little flash and light cube. That was kind of cool. My kids liked it. The food I thought was good. I had a steak and lobster. The steak wasn't as good as Yachtsman, but it was good. It was just a beautiful evening on the water, our last night, and you could see at night the electrical water pageant was floating by, and it was a great ending to the trip, like a great ending dinner. And I mean, I think we even had time, like right afterwards, my husband got the kids dressed in their swimsuits one last time just to go out by the pool and just soak it all in. And I think I even got in the hot tub that last night at the big pool. We just soaked it in that last night. It was amazing. It was a great stay at the Grand Floridian. We ended up, I had to pack a lot. It takes me forever to pack. But we packed up that night and packed up the next morning. And right before we packed up, I mean, we push it. We always do this to ourselves. We always leave at the very last minute. I mean, by the time we leave, it's usually 5 minutes past checkout. We are never early checking out. I don't know why we do it. It stresses us out. So I think we were checking out by like 11. So at 11 o'clock, we're already, the kids have been walking around with my husband while I'm packing. And at this point, it's time for lunch. And so before we head out to the next leg of our vacation, which I won't talk about over our podcast because it's a different location. Before we head out there, we decide to go to lunch at Disney Springs. And this is somewhat of a tradition. We like to check out a restaurant for lunch. The car's all packed, of course, but it's a good way to check out extra restaurants we haven't been before. And this time for lunch, before we headed out of town, we checked out the Edison. And I like the decor. It's that, steampunk, modern yet old-fashioned look. I thought our service was really great. There wasn't really that many people in there eating lunch. It was, I guess, kind of early because it was close to like 11:30, so it wasn't quite lunchtime. And I think this was a Saturday, but I had a grilled cheese and it was huge and it was so good. I had grilled cheese with the tomato soup on the side. And if there's 2 adults and y'all both want grilled cheese, only order 1 because they give you enough for 2 full sandwiches. I'm not kidding. 2 full sandwiches. It was really good. I loved that grilled cheese. It was so yummy. I think for an appetizer, we tried like the candied bacon because I'd seen some pictures of it and I thought it looked cool. It was fine. It wasn't my favorite candied bacon. I'm glad we got it. Got a few good pictures. My husband and I liked it more than my daughters liked it because it's bacon, so it's got that savory, but it's got a sweet glaze to it and it's peppery. It's decent. I'm not a big salty sweet eater, so it's not my favorite. But I like that it comes out on a clothesline, so you have to individually like unclip each little piece of bacon that's hanging down. So it was really cool. I think we had some really good French fries. I can't even remember what all we had, but I know I did enjoy the food, and I thought the place looked really cool. And truthfully, I kind of want to come back without my kids sometime. Like, it looks like this place would be amazing at night for nightlife. The bar area, the little loungy places. I mean, this is where you go with friends on a date, or if you're single and ready to mingle. I mean, this place looked really cool. We did a little bit more shopping after lunch, got some shoes, just went by some places we hadn't been before this trip. I went back to the toy store to buy that toy I'd already mentioned in a few episodes previous that my younger daughter wanted, because I promised her we'd go back, and sure enough we went back, and of course they didn't have it. They did not have it there, and my daughter was devastated because all she wanted this trip was that toy, and I kept promising her we'd get it later, and it wasn't there. And so that is a warning to all you parents that sometimes the toys your kids want, sometimes it might be best just to let them have it right away. I mean, what a pain. Anyway, we ended up ordering it right when we got in the car. I ordered it off of eBay or something like that, but that was a little stressful. But we did do our last minute browse around Disney Springs, and that's where we ended our trip. I have some more tips and observations, and I'm going to kind of sum up what I've learned this trip for the next episode. But I think I better leave it at that. This is a really long show. I did not plan for it to be that long, but there was just so much I wanted to talk about. And clearly I like to talk. Are planning a Branson vacation and want to check out my other podcasts, check me out at Roadtrip Branson. And if you want to interact with us on the Facebook page, that's, when I say us, who I'm referring to is literally me and sometimes my husband. So if you want to interact and be my friend, check me out on the Facebook page. We love to have any sort of comments or commentary, any sort of hints, tips, any interaction you want. Come on, guys. Give me something. Talk to me. Let me know you're there. Let me know you care. Okay, I'm being a little bit dramatic. So with that note, I will sign off. So farewell, road trippers. See you real soon.